started organic chemistry, and we started naming these hydrocarbons. The hydrocarbons, just a quick revision, hydrocarbon can be alkane, alkene, or alkyne. So three main classes: alkane, ANE, alkene, they have a double bond, and alkyne, between carbon and carbon, there's a triple bond. If throughout the chain there's a single bond, we call alkane. If within the chain, if there is a presence of a double bond, we call alkene. And if within the chain there's a presence of triple bond, we call alkyne. Alkane, name should end at ANE. Alkyne, the name should end at alkene, the name should end at ENE. And alkynes, the name should end at YN. Then these hydrocarbons can be straight chain, branched, or cyclic. These are the classification in terms of bond, but in terms of chain, it can be refers to straight chain, branched, or cyclic. How you can identify that a hydrocarbon is a straight chain? If hydrocarbon, the chain is having only two ends, we call that as straight chain. If it is having more than two ends, we call that as branch. And if there is no end, we call that as cyclic. Example, if I draw the structure, I draw CH3, CH2, CH2, and CH3. How many ends are there for this chain? How many ends you can see?
Sir, last time we didn't study the chains.
Yeah, I give introduction with a hydrocarbon, alkane, alkene, and alkyne, and now I'm explaining the chain. A link between the carbon atom can be refers to straight, it can be refers to branch, or it can be refers to cyclic. What is the meaning of a straight chain? A straight chain hydrocarbon means when it has two ends. This is one end and this is another. So if it has two ends, what we call that chain, we call that as a straight chain. But what is the meaning of a branched? If I draw the branched one, so if it is CH3, CH2, CH, CH3, CH2, and CH3. The ends always have CH3. So you can see here, this is CH3, CH3, CH3. How many ends are there for this? 1, 2, and 3. So if there are 3 ends, what we call that as a branch hydrocarbon. If there are 2 ends only, like this is one and this is a second, what we call that as a straight chain. And what is the meaning of cyclic? Cyclic means no end. So if I draw CH2 linked with another CH2, that's linked with another CH2. Is there any end for this? So in this one, it's a closed loop. There is no end. So if there is no end, what we call this, we call that as a cyclic. So these are the example. The first example is for straight. The second example is for branched. And the third example is for cyclic. So hydrocarbon chain can be refers to straight, it can be refers to branch, or it can be refers to cyclic. Straight means there are two ends, branched means there are more than two ends, and cyclic means there is no end in the chain. So it's a closed loop and there is no end for the chain. Or you cannot identify the starting and ending point of the chain. Copy this part. I will give more examples of straight and branch. A hydrocarbon chain can be refers to straight. What is the meaning of straight chain hydrocarbon? It means it has two ends. If it has two ends, we call that as a straight chain hydrocarbon. So example, if I draw the structure CH3, CH2, CH2, and CH3. So how many ends you can see in this? This is the start, one end, and this is the second end. In between are not considered as the end. So this first one is a start, and the second one is the end of the chain. So there are only two ends. Whenever two ends are there in a chain, what we call that as a straight chain hydrocarbon. If we find more than two ends, if it has more than two ends, what we call that as a branched. So example, we write CH3, CH2, CH3, CH2, and CH3. So how many ends you can see here? This one, 1, 2, 3. So if there are three ends, what we call that as a branched hydrocarbon. And if there is no end, then we call that as a cyclic hydrocarbon. So if it is CH2, 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 and then CH2. What we call, because we don't find any end, so if we don't find any end, what we call that as a cyclic. So a chain can be straight, it can be branched, or it can be cyclic. Is it clear, the idea about the chain? So naming the hydrocarbons, finish it fast so I can move on. So first thing, we start with a straight chain alkane. So what you can identify from the name. When I say straight, what does it mean? How many ends will be there? It will have two ends. And when I say alkane, alkane means throughout the chain between the carbon atoms there should be a single bond. We call that as straight chain alkane. So example, if I draw the structure CH3, CH2, CH2 and CH3. The structure was given. The question is, name this hydrocarbon or name the structure. So how you can name this? You will count the number of carbon atoms. The first thing you will do, count the number of carbon atoms. And use prefix for carbon number. So we count the number of carbon 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 carbon atoms. So if there are 4 carbon atoms, what prefix I should use? So I should use but for 4 carbon atoms. Then second, because throughout the chain, if the single bond, then use suffix ane. So what will be the suffix here? But because of 4 carbon and ane because they have a single bond. So this compound is actually butane. Is it clear? So for a straight chain hydrocarbon, the rule is count the number of carbon atoms and use a prefix for carbon number. And then if single bond, use a suffix which is ane. So this is simply butane. But because of 4 carbon and ane because they have a single bond throughout the chain. You don't have to write like straight chain butane. You will simply say butane. So butane is actually a straight chain alkane. Because the rule for naming a branch is a bit different. That's why first we started with a straight chain. Another example, if it is CH3, CH2, CH3. How many carbon atoms are there? 3. What prefix we use for 3 carbon atoms? So it will be prop. And because throughout the chain they have a single bond, so it should be ane. So it is propane. So the reason why you should identify the type of the chain, because there are different rules for naming a straight chain hydrocarbon, naming a branch, and naming a cyclic. So rule for naming a straight chain hydrocarbon, number 1, you will count the number of carbon and use a prefix for carbon number. And if there is a single bond, you will simply use the term ane. So it is prop because of 3 carbon and ane because they have single bond. Is it clear to everyone? Any doubt in this? Instead of mentioning straight chain propane, you can simply say propane. You don't have to specify the chain. You just mention propane. How to name a branched alkane? Example, if this structure was given, CH3, CH2, CH, CH2, CH2, CH3, and CH3. So you can identify it's a branch. How you identify it's a branch? Because there are 3 ends, 1, 2, and 3. So you identify it's a branch because there are 3 ends. Now how to name? What is the rule of naming the branch one? So rule for naming the branch one, number 1, you will select longest carbon chain from one end to another. So there are 3 ends. If I highlight this, there are 3 ends. Now this one is 1, 2, and this one is 3rd. What I have to do, I have to select the longest chain of a carbon, the one which is having the highest number of the carbon. So example, if I select the red part, red shade is representing a car. And I have to select from one end to another. So if I select this as my longest chain, so how many carbon atoms are coming in this chain? 1, 2, 3, 4 only. From one end to another, you have to select the carbon chain. If I select from this one, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are coming. But if I select from here, right hand side, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are coming. So if I count the first one, 4 were there.
Why don't we
Yes, Hashim, continue what you're saying.
sir, why don't we just choose the whole line from CH3 to CH4 without choosing the CH3 that is above?
Yeah, I'm giving you all the options. I'm explaining the idea that which chain I should select. I should select the longest chain. If I was selecting from left hand side like the previous one, when I was selecting from left hand side, how many carbons were there? 4. Okay. If I select from right hand side to top, how many are there? 5. But if I select from left to right or right to left, how many are there? 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So which chain I should select? I should select the longest chain. So the longest chain is having 6 carbon. Is it clear? The first point, select the longest carbon chain from one end to another. So this is the one I should select because this is having 6 carbon atom. Why I did not select this one? from left to up, because this is having 4 carbon. Why I did not select from right to top? Because this is having 5 carbon, this chain. But when I select from right to left or left to right, this is having 6 carbon atoms. So means this is my longest chain. So first what I did, I select the longest carbon chain. Then what is the second rule? The numbering, number the carbon atom, and the numbering should start from closest branch or nearest branch. So I should number the carbon atoms and the numbering should start from nearest branch. So what does it mean? Example, if I number here, this is my first carbon. So what we'll do, we'll number the carbon atoms from one end to another. And the numbering should start from the nearest branch. So if I number this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So where the branch is coming, which position there's a branch?
Sir, what do you mean by numbering should start from nearest branch?
So if I number from right to left, the branch is at 4th position. And if I number from left to right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The branch is coming at 3rd position. So which numbering I should follow? From left to right or right to left? So we should follow from left to right. Why left to right? Because when I count from left to right, the meaning of a closest branch here refers to when you count the carbon atoms, when you give the number to the carbon atom, the branch should occupy the smaller number, should be closer to the end. So if I count here, the carbon from one end to another, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I'm counting from right to left, the branch is coming with a 4th carbon. Okay. So the nearest branch is at 4th carbon. But if I count from left to right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So branch is coming at 3rd carbon. So which numbering I should follow? I should follow a numbering in which the branch is coming closest or nearest. So if I count from right to left, the branch was at 4th carbon. If I count from left to right, the branch is at 3rd carbon. So which numbering I should follow? I should follow numbering from left to right. So first we select the longest carbon atoms from one end to another. Then we number the carbon atom from one end to another, and numbering should start from nearest branch. Then what is the third step? The third step, write the position of branch. with prefix of carbon and suffix YL. So what is the position of the branch? The branch is coming at third carbon, so I will say 3. How many carbon are there in a branch? This is a branch. How many carbon atoms are there in the branch? 1. So what prefix we use for carbon atom? If there is one carbon atom, what prefix we use? If one carbon atom.
There Y1, how one?
This is a branch. You can see here, this is a branch. How many carbon atoms are there in the branch?
1.
So that's why I'm saying how many carbon atoms in the branch. It has one carbon. So one carbon, we will say meth. So 3 is the position of the branch. Meth means one carbon there in the branch. If there are 2 carbon, then it will be eth. If there are 3 carbon, then it will be prop. But in this example, there is one carbon in the branch. That's why we say meth. And the branch should always have a suffix YL. So it will be 3-methyl.
Sir, didn't we just select the longest carbon chain?
This is a rule for naming the hydrocarbon. So first we name the branch and then we name the chain. So how to name the branch? Which position we have a branch? We have a third position, we have a branch. The branch contains one carbon atom, that's why it's meth. And YL is always, whenever something is attached as a branch, the carbon chain, the name should always end at YL. So it's 3-methyl. YL is actually, this is a nomenclature which shows the rules. There are rules to name hydrocarbon. So 3 is a position, meth because there is one carbon, and YL because of branch. It's a branch. Then how many carbon in the chain? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So for 6, we will use hex. And they have a single bond. So we will say it is N. So what is the name of this compound? It is 3-methyl hexane. Yes, Salman? You have a question?
Sir, I'm really confused with the math. Why did we select CH3 for the branch?
Why we select CH3 as a branch? Because if I draw the structure, the original question, it is CH3, CH2, CH, CH2, CH2, and CH3. The first rule for naming a hydrocarbon, the branch alkanes, select longest carbon from one end to another. So when we select the longest carbon from one end to another, if I shade that, so what is outside this is considered as a branch. So this is a chain, the pink shade is representing a chain, and the gray shade is representing a branch. Is it clear? From one end to another, when we select the longest carbon chain, what is left outside the chain or what we don't select, that is considered as a branch. So this CH3 is a branch, and this straight, the chain which we select, that is the longest chain. How to name this? First, write the position of the branch. So which position we have a branch? If I count from left side, 1, 2, and 3. So third position, I have a branch. If I count from right, 1, 2, 3, 4. So fourth position, I have a branch. But what is the rule? The rule is select the or number the carbon atoms from one end to another, and numbering should start from nearest branch, where the numbering where the branch is closer, that you will select. So that's why we select 3. We say 3, not 4. Is it clear?
So we will always put YL for branch alkane.
We'll always put YL for branch. So if it is, now in the branch, the third position we have a branch, that's why we put 3. And how many carbon atoms are there in a branch? There is one carbon atom. So there is one carbon atom, that's why it's meth. And the branch is there. Whenever there's a branch, the name should have YL. When carbon chain is there as a branch, the name should always be YL. So it's methyl. And because the main chain,
Sir, math is for 3.
meth is for 1. 3 is the position. Third position, we have a branch. And how many carbon atoms are there in the branch? Number of the carbon atoms, it's 1. So that's why it is meth.
Okay, sir, I understand. Thank you.
And for straight chain, so it is, then name the chain, the straight chain. So there are 6 carbon atoms in the straight chain. That's why we say hex. And they have a single bond. We call that as N. For 5, it is